ABC News, our Stephanie Ramos. Thank you, Stephanie. And that's one of the big stories coming out of yesterday. Welcome to Tuesday. We have another nice sunny day for you. A little warmer than yesterday, but enjoy it because Wednesday, tomorrow, not so much, not so nice. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an Age. Thousands of you are each morning. We appreciate it very, very much, not just in our Manchester, Maine, Boston metro region, but across the country. D.C., Virginia, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Florida. Good morning. And of course, our network of news talk stations. We have a packed show for you. A lot going on. You heard Stephanie talking about the anti-Israel protests that are now at Columbia University, for example, making it virtual learning the rest of the semester. What a world to wake up in this morning, right here at home. What a world. Listen to the stories trending. The anti-Israel protests on Ivy League campuses, resulting in arrest and police in riot gear as the presidents and administrators try to regain control of their colleges and universities. Meanwhile, the Senate in Washington returns to vote on a foreign aid package, including aid to Israel. And, of course, it's all Donald Trump. Donald Trump, his hush money trial, Donald Trump, hush money trial, Donald Trump, gag order, hush money trial, Donald Trump. That's just the flavor of CNN. What a world, what a country, what a morning. Probably the only thing that made sense to me this morning, and I'm being serious on this, is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. out there running for president. No one wants to talk about it. Joe Biden doesn't want to talk about it. ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, the big media guys and gals, or they, to be politically correct. You notice how I did that. They don't want to talk about it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talks about making the federal budget visible to the American public. What a novel concept. He says, put it right on the blockchain, let people go in and look at how your tax dollars and how the federal government's spending money. What a novel concept. And I thought of this the other day. I'm thinking no one in Washington, both parties are guilty of this, both. So don't start. I was going to say something like yapping's not a nice way to put it. Don't start barking at me about Trump, 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 Biden, Biden, Biden. Both sides have racked this thing up $35 trillion in debt. Do you know what a financial planner, a buddy of mine, told me the other day? This is insanity, and no one gives a damn or wants to talk about it in Washington. For every dollar that the GDP brings in, or gross domestic product, like positive money being generated in our economy, about $1.25 goes to paying for the debt. Do you understand how upside down that is? We're spending more money, that pizza slice picture of servicing our debt, than making and growing money in the economy. And you wonder why I worry if the American dollar is going to be worth much soon. I mean, this is incredible. This is remarkable, and no one in Washington seems to give a damn, for the most part. You can never talk about cutting spending. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., that's the kind of stuff people note, because he's got a good point there. Make the federal budget transparent so people can look it up. How much money is being spent on that bridge, that field, that state, that project, foreign aid. See the whole thing unravel. Look at how much money. Why not, right? All right, some commentary. 603-228-2080. John Decker, our own White House correspondent, coming up live in just a few moments. He's going to be talking about, guess what? The Trump trial. A little bit later on, we're going to hear from one of the candidates who ran for the U.S. Senate, retired General Don Bolduc, has a piece out this morning. I love this. The excess campaign money he raised for his federal run, basically is going to donate now to veterans. Raising that point again about veterans. That's a reminder, May 15th, my 10th annual Make 12 Hours Count for our veterans and Veterans Count. Check out vetscount.org, vetscount.org, part of Easter Seals, New Hampshire. My 10th, we go 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. just a few weeks from now for our veterans. And again, what a novel concept. Our veterans, I don't think we have much business worrying about taking care of anyone else if we can't take care of our veterans. Less than 1% serve 330 million people. We're not doing a very good job. We're still having too many veterans take their own lives, passing on getting care that they earned, not entitled to, while everyone else is out there going, where's mine? Where's mine? May 15th, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So join us. And we have some tremendous sponsors. I should mention these. FedPoint, Fed Points, our presenting sponsor, Patio Barn, Eversource, Heritage Home Services, Jazzmore Roofing and Construction, just to name a few. Northeast Delta Dental, Joe Farrell's awesome Tuscan brand, Tuscan Kitchens, Abundant Life, Stones and Spa, Coca-Cola, Service Credit Union, Great Bay Spa and Sauna, and more. And we appreciate it very, very much. And right here at home, after John Decker, Michael Graham has a couple of doozies, stories that is teed up. Listen to some of the debate right here at home in New Hampshire in the last day or two on sanctuary cities, because the Senate passed a bill to basically ban sanctuary city policies in New Hampshire, but some communities like Keene, Hanover, they still don't want local police cooperating with like ICE and all that folks. There's some undocumented person there and they robbed the bank. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about it. What about if they rape someone? Oh, don't worry about it. Don't tell the federal people. They might deport them. So we're just going to let them go. But there's a part of one of the lawmakers that was quoted yesterday from Keene. I guess in Graham's article in the New Hampshire Journal, Jody Newell said that in her House committee, basically saying that voters are just ginned up over one or two murders. No big deal here. No big deal. That's all. Just they're overplaying the whole undocumented thing. One of his other articles caught my eye, talking about boys or men playing in women's sports right here. One of the quotes from a lawmaker who's opposing parental rights a parental rights bill, says everyone's a little bisexual. Okay, yeah, this is the local debate, the local banter, as they say, the local banter. You can't make this stuff up. All right. So the Senate's coming back to vote on the foreign aid package. We have students basically shutting down their Ivy League university. I'm thinking, I really do wonder. There's so much stuff that's just, you look at the stories right now. You have the ongoing sort of scandal biting into NPR because everyone's shocked that they're a liberal news outlet. And now that's continuing. You have the campuses, anti Semitic, anti Israel. I love some of the stuff coming out of Columbia and Yale. It's not just anti Israel, pro Palestine. Don't kid yourself. Tear down this American society. Tear down movement, tear down the American society. Google workers, they don't want their parent company to sell things to Israel, like a cloud technology that, by the way, any government can buy. This anti-Israel sentiment, it's not just anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, anti-American, shut down this American society. I mean, if I'm sorry, there's free speech and then there's hurtful hate speech. When you start seeing mobs of people chasing a Jewish American student or American Jewish student off an Ivy League campus, there's something really broken, something really screwed up. And if you're going to glorify Hamas and Iran, go live there or adopt a few. But this continues. It's rather remarkable. We're going to take a quick break on a beautiful looking Tuesday, better than tomorrow weather-wise. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Inch. Come back, our own White House correspondent, John Decker, because all things are hush money. Trump trial, hush money, danger, danger. Will Robinson, back in a moment. And with all the news happening coming out of the weekend and right up until this morning, in case you missed it, Donald Trump, there's a hush money trial underway, and it's the first day of a criminal fraud trial and looking at the hush money case and all the stuff and gag orders. And interesting. John Decker, our own White House correspondent, is the only one of the only members of the bar, and also I think registered, with the Supreme Court as an attorney. But White House correspondent John, good morning. I noticed yesterday, at the height of Yale and Columbia having to shut down basically classes for the day because of this anti-Semitic or anti-Israel protest. I noticed on one network that begins with C and ends with N. It's about the fifth story yesterday. The first four are all Trump hush money, Trump trial, Trump trial. Do you think I don't know if that network could exist without Trump in the news, and I'm being half serious. John, what is your take, the latest? How long is this gonna last? I don't know what the net impact, good or bad, on Trump is politically, liability speaking, financial. There's probably gonna be something. I doubt there's jail time, but where does this go? What do you as an attorney, what are you seeing? Mhm. Interesting. John Decker, on White House correspondent. Enjoy your Tuesday. Thanks. Well, Michael Graham, New Hampshire Journal, whether it's talking about parental rights bill, gender in sports, or even sanctuary cities, the banter in Concord is getting to be rather tabloid esque. Michael, good morning. I want to talk about this headline. Everyone's a little bisexual, one member of the House. Hmm. Wow, a modern day Sigmund Freud. So so from Lynn, Mass, and Lynn, yeah. Yeah, why don't you refresh people about that story out of Lynn, Mass? Can, well, can, can I? Oh yeah, especially if it's white males. Hey, Michael. Yeah, okay. Michael, okay. I want to pose one simple question, and it flashback to University of Vermont in a philosophy class. I took some philosophy. John Stuart Mill, utilitarian principle about the greater good, and it was he was a philosopher. And he talked about you can't be 100%, but you got to have some greater good. 8 out of 10 people benefit. So the point I want to make is on these stories about gender, why are women so silent and acquiescing on this when they had to fight so many years to get, and they're still not there, better placement, NCAA sports, tournaments, recognition, varsity at all levels, titles, get, more women's rights moving forward. Because a lot of what this does is just take roster positions away from other young gals or lacrosse players or gals that want to maybe go to UNH Durham and get a scholarship. And I'm just curious why there's not more of an uproar from the sort of women's rights community. Well, yeah, I like my professor there. It was a good class. Yeah, doesn't exist. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, working in Rye. Yeah, at a home in Rye. What about the 2, rapes in the most recent one in Rockland, Massachusetts by Warthog? I don't know. No, it was an anti he was a fighter pilot, it was an anti-tank jet he flew. I met her husband. He's a heck of a veteran. Yeah, he's a heck of a Joe's a yeah, yeah, you don't wanna mess with, you don't wanna mess with her husband in terms of his service to this country. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yeah, no, he's a character, her husband. I met it several times. He used to be our landscaper when I lived at a home in Bedford, and, he'd come in and, we'd talk about his time flying those things. Hey, listen, thank you, Michael. A lot there to think about, a lot there to ponder. What a world. All right, Michael Graham, NHL.com. Thank you, Mike. We come back, we'll tell you about the second congressional race. Former mayor of Keene not running. He'll tell you why himself next. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play The Pulse of an Age. Back in a flash. You know, there are some stories developing, and one of them is what's going on just in our congressional race. It's because we don't have a big Senate race right now, so we don't have a United States Senate race, but we have some congressional races, and a lot of people aren't talking about them. A lot of people aren't talking about the congressional races first and second, but the second congressional district is getting to be really interesting because the Democrats Colin Van Ostern is a very well-known sort of establishment Democrat. Senator Becky Whitley from the Capital Region is running. And this is a classic battle royale because the Democrats are having a real primary. You see in the gubernatorial race, Cindy Warmington, Joyce Craig, big race. Of course, Republicans have a battle as well. So, what about the second congressional district among Republicans? And now Lily Tang Williams was on our show, J Dog, just a few weeks ago, as I think a very compelling story that no one talks about. Coming to America legally, going through all the hoops. And she came to New Hampshire for a reason, live free or die. She's got a great story of coming from China and why she left. but also a good friend of ours here in the station because he'd been after running for the U.S. Senate, doing his weekly podcast here, navigating uncertainty, and filled in for me on the show a little bit. Dr. Vikram Manchurmani, Republican, he's running. But another very respected name from the western part of the state, and Michael Graham was just talking about Keene, is George Hansel, who's run before. He's a former mayor of Keene, entrepreneur, family business, very well thought of from what I hear. I don't know if I've ever met George, but I don't hear anything but good. So I just want to bring him on to talk about why are you not running, sir? Well, why are you not running? I always ask the question, why are you running? Why are you not running? And now you've come out, or what are your thoughts on the race? I don't know if you've endorsed Dr. Vikram Manchurmani. I know you're supportive of him. Okay, tell us about him and why. Hmm. Why? Yeah, yeah. Well, do, do you, why do you think George Hansel? I mean, well, let me ask you this: she's held the seat 6 terms. I think the last Republican was Charlie Bass. Can a Republican, regardless of who it is, the nominee, win in that district, regardless of who the Democrat is? Presumably, well, there might be a third Democrat with some pretty good national support getting in, but regardless of who the Democrat is, it a winnable district these days? Looking at this fall in New Hampshire for a Republican. Now, what about? I want to ask you this, George Hansel from Keene. You were mayor in a community that, and again, I've been here a long time, and I know you have a family business, and you're pretty much entrenched in that greater Keene area, correct? Yeah. So you know the state as well. I think New Hampshire, for a small physical state, our population may be, similar to Maine, but Maine's such a big physical state. New Hampshire's a smaller state, but I'm always amazed at just the regions. When I used to run WMUR's news, we used to talk about that whole Dublin, Peterborough, Keene, western part of the state, and then you had Concord North, and then you had the real North Country. The seacoast was a totally different market, and then you had Nashua and Londonderry. The southern tier was even different than Manchester. So I've always been fascinated in the last several years. I've seen this trend, George Hansel, and that is, and you mentioned a moment ago, the Democrats have had a lock on winning the federal seats, the 2 congressional seats and the 2 U.S. Senate seats. Shaheen, Hassan, of course, Pappas, and Custer, but now retiring. And yet, as New Hampshire changes, and you've seen Keene change, people moving in from New York, you know, Massachusetts, they come in, they like the Democrats in the federal delegation, but in the Republican state house, if you will, in terms of the House and the Senate majority, and a Republican governor with 4 terms of Chris Sununu. Do you see that trend continuing? They almost like local control, Republicans in the state house, but we want our Democrats in Washington. Do, yeah. Do, are you, have you rolled out a future run? And, and let me ask you this real quickly, and maybe speculative. Why do you think Ann Custer chose not to run again for reelection? Okay. And what do you, let me ask you this before I let you go. I don't know who the Democrat, as I said, nominee will be in that second congressional district, but whoever it is, and I think it's true in the governor's race, if you're a Dr. Vikram Mancharamani or Lily Tang Williams or a Kelly Ayotte or Chuck Morse or whoever prevails in these primaries, and you're, let's say George Ansel was running, and your Democrat challenger says, my Republican opponent wants to ban your right to abortion, wants to ban your right to abortion, and they run millions of dollars of outside dark money just over and over again because they don't want to talk about some of these other issues, perhaps. How do you respond and let people realize, no, I actually don't, or I do? How do you handle that attack? Because the Republicans seem to be on the defensive on that. And George, in New Hampshire and nationally, you've seen it with Joe Biden nationally. The Democrats' number one weapon, if you will, for reelection or winning federally is bringing up the abortion issue because Joe Biden's not popular among his base. Just ask the college students protesting at Columbia today. But you bring up abortion, and all of a sudden they circle the wagon. So how do you respond? How do you respond, though? All right, I appreciate it, George Hansel out of Keene. What are you doing these days? And what's the family business? Are you in that, or do you have your own businesses? Roughly how many employees now? Wow, good for you. Hey, listen, we'll get you back in soon. You're a great analyst. I'll have to have you as a regular, George Hansel. Thank you. All right, talking about some of the second congressional district. Hey Alexa, hey Google, play the Pulse of an Age. Bruins came up short last night. I must admit, I stayed awake for the whole thing. It was an earlier start. They fell short in the end. Toronto just too much in that third period. Good game overall. A couple things surprised me. They did the old humane thing. They've been rotating the goalies. I thought they'd stay with Swayman because he was hot in game one. Swayman will get the start up in Toronto. Uh, Bruins came out great. They looked great when Pasta scored one at the end of the first period to put them up by one. But Toronto just and of course, what's his name? Used to be with the Bruins. Uh, number not Matthews, not their superstar, but the guy that used to be with the Bruins really gave him a headache last night. But they were able to pull it off 3-2. They go to Toronto, J Dog. And it was amazing to see that fan base in Toronto, J Dog, outside the square, outside the arena in Toronto. They had to have more people outside last night on the watching the monitors outside of Toronto than were inside the TD Garden. So game three, I imagine J Dog, are we looking at what night? Is it gonna be like a Thursday night probably? Or is it Saturday? Or they give 'em a day to travel. Probably Saturday, right, Dog? All right. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play probably Thursday or Friday. Okay. All right, take a quick break. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of Nate. Jack Heath, the Western J Dog on the boards back in a few. All right, we are back. We are back, and Bruins going at it a little bit earlier up in Toronto tomorrow night. But of course, we have the Red Sox. But then Saturday, and this is going to be a this is going to be a tough, a good. It's gonna be a tough series. That's all I'm gonna say. I just I'm feeling J Dog. It's gonna go back and forth. It just feels like Game 7 to me. I don't know. I hope not for the Bruins' sake because I mean, th- no, no, it's just momentum and so many analogies. But obviously, these two are well matched, and it shows you how when you see the fan base and support the Maple Leafs has, shows you they have the talent. There's no question that both these teams are very good. So it really comes down to be honest with you, couple breaks, couple mistakes, and goaltending. It's usually goaltending, and we'll see if they're going to continue the rotation, Swayman, Ullman, or just Swayman, but we'll see. All right, Alicia Preston Xanthopoulos, APX, Seacoast Online, an earlier start. Alicia, good Tuesday morning. How are you? Well, the my comeback on that. You don't care. Hey, I have to say, I began the morning with a quick opening line that is just part of my how I've my perception. How crazy are things? Look at the headlines yesterday and today. Columbia, Yale University, anti-Israeli, anti-Semitic protests, basically shutting down the schools. Riot, police gear, arrest, and they're not just protesting pro-Palestine and the violence in Gaza. I mean, this is a tear down the American society, pro-Hamas thing. And I'm looking at this going, okay, today the Senate's going to return to Washington to vote on aid package, including Israel. And all CNN talks about for the first six stories is Donald Trump, hush money trial, Donald Trump, hush money trial, Donald Trump. I'm looking at this picture going, wow, what a world we live in. Yeah. 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 It's funny you used a word there that Rory O'Neill, who's a very grounded, logical, world traveled national correspondent for NBC, said yesterday ignorance. And, Alicia, I had said that for months, even not long after October 7th, knowing the anti Semitic stuff was there, I said, you know what really is underlying this at places like Columbia? And I want to know your take on this. It's not so much anti Israeli, it's an anti-American sentiment on that campus with the professors, with the students. We're the problem. America's the problem. America, tear down our society. Death to Americans, some of these students are chanting. We're the problem, not just pro-Hamas, anti-Israel. I think there's an inherent anti-Western, anti-American sentiment, especially at Columbia. Yeah. 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 Oh, y- yeah. Yeah, but but one of these schools, the mob was chasing American Jewish students off the campus. Defund the police. Defund the police. Hey, Alicia, when you were talking, Alicia Preston Seacoast Online, I had to chuckle because last night when I was working out before waiting for the Bruins to come on, I watched a half hour of Mark Wahlberg in the movie The Shooter, and there's a great scene because he had been a Marine sniper, and they kind of left him out there, hung him out to dry. And when he's working out in the mountains, and he comes back to his mountain house, he's got his dog who actually opens the fridge and gets him a beer. It's a great dog trick. And he turns on his laptop for the news, and he's looking at all the world news, and he goes in American national media. He goes, "What lies are they selling us today?" That's how he watches it. What lies? But you know what? Last thing I want to say is, uh, when you look at some of the videos of the students, you mentioned ignorance protesting yesterday. I'm sorry, I did a little bit of an imitation. You and I are parents, so please forgive me because you've heard younger people talk like this. And I'm watching these two young gals at Columbia come out to the campus quad or square where the protesters are laying down the sheets. This is a liberated zone. This over here is pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, anti-Israel. And there's two students come out, and there's this like a local reporter, and they're just interviewing them. And you could hear the audio, and they're like, "Oh my God, a protest! It's just so fun to be out here. It's so sunny today. I'm going to order a veggie wrap. I don't know what I'm, I don't know what I'm protesting. I don't know what I'm protesting, but you know what? Israel's just a mean, awful country. It's so great to be out here protesting." And that's what they sounded like. They don't even know what they're protesting. Oh. Oh my God. That name Hamas. It's just such an unusual name. I'm out here protesting. I don't know what's going on. All right. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Gonna have a veggie wrap though at noon and get some sun. And I don't have to be in class. I can be out here protesting all day. It's just so much fun. Hey Google, hey Alexa, play the pulse of it. I guess MIT has a fair amount of this stuff going on. Hopefully, New Hampshire has a little more logic. And then, of course, we have our community college system where people are just teaching and working today in New Hampshire. What a novel concept. All right. Hey, coming up, top of the 10, we'll tell you about a former U.S. Senate candidate who's going to take his campaign funds that were raised and put them to very good use. A good lesson being, good lesson leader or a good way to follow someone in doing something good for our veterans. That's coming up. Erin Real, NBC News Radio national correspondent. She'll talk a little bit at what's going on in college campuses. But again, why are we surprised? Why are we surprised? In 1939, 1940, the freshman class at Princeton University, in a survey, they ranked Adolf Hitler the most amazing human alive, and World War II was underway. Oh, my goodness. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play the pulse of an age. Beautiful day. It's going to be nicer than tomorrow. Enjoy it. Back in a flash.